Well, yesterday we finished 1 Samuel, and where we left off, well, we'll start with at 27. David knew that Saul wasn't going to quit hunting him. So he ran to the land of the Philistines, to that guy, Achish and Gath, the one that he acted crazy to, and he became a servant to him. And he tells him one day, I shouldn't live in the same city as you. You should send me somewhere where I can be of service to you. So Achish sends him to Ziklag, and that becomes his city. It becomes his land. And it says in here, on to this day, which we've talked about that before. That doesn't mean our day today while we read. It means this day, the day the person that was writing this chapter was writing it. So as of this day, the day he was writing this book, that is, to that day, the kings of Judah still have claims on Ziklag. And then David pretends to serve the king of Achish and the Philistines. He goes out. While he's going out, he's telling them that he's attacking places in Israel, but in reality, he's attacking places like the Gezerites and the Geshurites and the Amalekites and all those nations in that area. And he's making sure to completely eradicate them when he goes and does it, so that no witnesses can say it was him that does it. So there is no proof that it's him. They think that they're being invaded, and the whole time he's doing the damage. So he puts his confidence in him. He takes him out there to go to a war with him. In the reward is what they call the march, where the captains and the higher ups are marching at. And he got to march with them, and the lords of the Philistine did not like that. They were like, why do you have this Israelite here? This is David, and he was considered great in Israel. Why do you have him here? He is going to turn on us. And so Achish puts his confidence in him, and he dismisses him, and he sends him home. And on his way home, he finds that his town, Ziklag, has been burnt, and everybody's wives and children and sheep and everything has been taken while they were off marching with Achish. So they follow along to go and get their stuff. So we're going to put this story on hold for a minute and come back to that in a second, because during all this, Saul is not getting any answers from God, and he's not getting any answers from any of the ephods. He's not getting anything from God at all. And he's got the Philistines attacking him because, David's stirring up trouble over there. Who are they blaming? Saul. So there's, of course, going to be a war that rises up over there, and there is, and I'm not saying it's because of this, but it's probably one of the many contributing factors at that time for them to be at war. And he goes to his servants, and he says, I want to speak to a familiar. Well, he had just eradicated the land not that long ago of them. And so the guy's like, I know of a woman in Endor. And they go to this woman in Endor, and she's like, I can talk for you, but we need to keep it down because Saul just kicked everybody out. She's completely ignorant to the fact that the king's in front of her. But it also says he disguised himself. So he says, I want you to call me an old man. And she calls up the spirit that he's asking for. It's Samuel. And she finds out that he is Saul, and she is offended by this, but he's like, no, I'm not going to do anything. And she tells him, she lets Saul speak with Samuel. Well, I guess the spirit speaks through. I don't know how that works. He's mad though. Samuel's not very happy with him. Why did you disturb me? And in the end of it, he says, because we're being attacked and God won't talk to me. And Saul's like, I don't know what we're going to do. And Samuel says, well, I'll tell you right now, by this time tomorrow, you'll be with me and all your sons. And he pretty much lets him know that what he just did was stupid. And he goes away, and Saul has no energy left. He's spent. He's not eating. He's on the floor. And then he goes into a depression. And this medium gets him to eat, makes a fatted calf for him, and they rose up and went away that night. Now, it says that they went to Aphek, the Philistines did, and the Israelites pitched in Jezreel, and they went to war. And during this war, David gets dismissed by Achish, as we know. He goes off and he finds a servant, and of the people who attacked his land, he's an Egyptian, and he tells them where he's at, and they lead him to him, and he gets back everything, because he talks to God about it first, before he goes after him, and God says, I will give you back all. And he does. He gives back all, even his wives, everything, and they gain more. And they go back, and there were a portion of the men that refused to go forward because they were too tired. So when he gets back, he gives them back their wife and children. He says, now take your family and leave, because I can't use you. He calls them sons of Belial. He says, if you can't get up and fight with us, you definitely don't get to take of our spoil, and I'm not going to support you. So take of your family and leave. And he made that an ordinance to his people. And to this day, or something similar to that, it's a law amongst David's band that if you do not partake in the war, you do not partake in the spoil, and you do not stay with the group. So that's what happened there. He got his wives back, and they get their town. I don't know if they fixed their town or what, because what happens next changes everything for David. It really does. Saul goes out to war, and the Philistines triumph. They overtake them. Jonathan and Abinadab and Malchishah, they are taken captive, and then they are smited and displayed in humiliating ways on the wall. And Saul, he is poked with an arrow, and he realizes that he can either finish it himself, or he can allow them to come and harm him, and he says abuse him after. So he asks his armor bearer to pokey him the rest of the way, and the armor bearer says no, he's a boy, and he's probably never really done anything other than carry armor around. So he says no, and so Saul does it. He falls on his pokey, and they take him and they put him with his sons on display. And the Israelites see this, and they take them and they bury them. Well, they take them and at this time they burn them. They don't bury them. They burn of the remains. I think there was some kind of an insult to not do something to those remains afterwards during that time. But I'm not from that time. I don't know the culture well. It's a lot of different readings. It comes together that it was honorable to hold the funeral with a fire instead of throw it in the ground. So it's different. Culture changes. Well, they took the remains and they buried them under a tree at Jabesh, and they fasted 7 days, and then that's where we ended. That was the end of 1 Samuel. Now we realize that before Samuel passed away, he had already, long before David even knew Saul, anointed him king. So we know that there's about to be a major change here. And this is 2 Samuel chapter 1. Now it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, that David had abode 2 days in Ziklag. And came even to pass on the 3rd day that, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he came to David, that he fell to the earth and did obeisance. Okay, so obeisance is the art of worship. He bowed. And David said unto him, From whence comest thou? And he said unto him, Out of the camp of Israel am I escaped. And David said unto him, How went the matter? I pray thee, tell me. And he answered, That the people are fled from the battle, and many of the people also are fallen and sleep. And Saul and Jonathan and his son are also passed away. And David said unto the young man that told him, How knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan his son be passed? And the young man that told him said, As I happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul leaned upon his spear. And lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me, and called unto me, and I answered, Here am I. And he said unto me, What art thou? And I answered him, I am an Amalekite. And he said unto me again, Stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me, for anguish is come upon me, because my life is yet whole in me. So I stood upon him, and I slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head, and the bracelet that was on his arm, and have brought them hither unto my Lord. Then David took hold on his clothes, and rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him. And they moaned and wept and fasted until even for Saul, and for Jonathan his son, and for the people of the Lord, and for the house of Israel, because they were fallen by the sword. And David said unto the young man that told him, Whence art thou? And he answered, I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite. And David said unto him, How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thine hand to destroy the Lord's anointed? And David called one of the young men and said, Go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he slept. And David said unto him, Thy blood be upon thy head, for thy mouth hath testified against thee, saying, I have slain the Lord's anointed. And David lamented with his lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. Also he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher, The beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places. How are the mighty fallen? Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the street Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. Ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let there be rain upon you, nor fields of offering. For there the shield of the mighty is vilely cast away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back, the sword of Saul returned not empty. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and then in their death they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. How art the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. How are the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished? And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah? And the Lord said unto him, Go up. And David said, Whither shall I go up? And he said, Unto Hebron. So David went up thither, and his two wives, also Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. And his men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying, that the men of Jabesh Gilead were they that buried Saul. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, and said unto them, Blessed be ye of the Lord, that ye have showed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord show kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness, because ye have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant, for your master Saul is passed, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. But Abner the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. And Joab the son of Zerah, and the servants of David, went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, the one on the one side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, "Let the young men now arise and play before us." And Joab said, "Let them arise." Then there arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And they caught every one his fellow by the head, and thrust his sword in his fellow's side, so that they fell down together. Wherefore that place was called Helkath Hazarium, which is in Gibeon. And there was a very sore battle that day. And Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe. And Asahel pursued after Abner. And in going he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. Then Abner looked behind him and said, "Art thou Asahel?" And he answered, "I am." And Abner said to him, "Turn thee aside to thy right hand or to thy left hand, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee this armor." But Asahel would not turn aside from following of him. And Abner said again to Asahel, "Turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab thy brother?" Howbeit he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner with the hither end of the spear smote him under the 5th rib, that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down there and slept in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and slept stood still. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah, that lieth before Giah, by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner and became one troop, and stood on the top of an hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said, "Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following their brethren?" And Joab said, "As God liveth, unless thou hast spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up every one of them from following his brother." So Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still and pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. And Abner and his men walked all that night through the plain and passed over Jordan and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. And Joab returned from following Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's men 19 servants and Asahel. But the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 360 men slept. And they took up Asahel and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at break of day. Now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. And unto David were sons born in Hebron. His firstborn was Ammon of Ahaniam the Jezreelitess, and his second Chileab of Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmi, king of Geshur, and the fourth Adonijah, the son of Haggith, and the fifth Sephiath, the son of Abital, and the sixth Ithream by Eglah, David's wife. These were born to David in Hebron. And it came to pass, while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, that Abner made himself strong for the house of Saul. And Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, "Wherefore hast thou gone into my father's concubine?" Then was Abner very wroth for the words of Ishbosheth, and said, "I am a dog's head, which against Judah do show kindness this day unto the house of Saul thy father, to his brethren, and to his friends, and have not delivered thee into the hand of David, that thou chargest me today with a fault concerning this woman? So do God to Abner, and more also, except as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, to set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah from Dan even to Beersheba. And he could not answer Abner a word again because he feared him. And Abner sent messengers to David on his behalf, saying, Whose is the land? Saying also, Make thy league with me, and behold, my hand shall be with thee to bring about all Israel unto thee. And he said, Well, I will make a league with thee, but one thing I require of thee is that thou shalt not see my face, except thou first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when thou comest to see my face. And David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, Deliver me my wife Michal, which I espoused to me for 100 foreskins of the Philistines. And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, even from Phadiel, the son of Lachish. And her husband went with her, along weeping behind her to Bahurim. And then said Abner unto him, Go, return. And he returned, and Abner had communication with the elders of Israel, saying, Ye sought for David in times past to be king over you. Now then do it, for the Lord hath spoken of David, saying, By the hand of my servant David I will save my people Israel out of the hand of the Philistines, and out of the hand of all of their enemies. And Abner also spoke in the ears of Benjamin. And Abner went also to speak in the ears of David in Hebron, all that seemed good to Israel, and that seemed good to the whole house of Benjamin. So Abner came to David with Hebron, and 20 men with him. And David made Abner and the men that were with him a feast. And Abner said unto David, I will arise and go, and I will gather all Israel unto my lord the king, that they may make a league with thee, and that thou mayest reign over all that thine heart desireth. And David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop, and brought in a great spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he was gone in peace. When Joab and all the host that was with him were come, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he has sent him away, and he is gone in peace. And Joab came to the king and said, What hast thou done? Behold, Abner came unto thee. Why is it that thou hast sent him away, and he is quite gone? Thou knowest Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive thee, and to know thy going out and thy coming in, and to know all that thou doest. And when Joab was come out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, which brought him again from the well of Sirah. But David knew it not. And when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him there under the 5th rib, that he slept, for the blood of Asahel, his brother. And afterward, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord forever from the life force of Abner the son of Ner. Let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and let there not fail from the house of Joab one that hath an issue, or that it is a leper, or that leaneth on a staff, or that falleth on the sword, or that lacketh bread. So Joab and Abishai his brother slew Abner, because he had slain their brother Asahel at Gibeon in the battle. And David said to Joab and to all the people that were with him, Rend your clothes and gird you with sackcloth, and mourn before Abner. And King David himself followed the bier. And they buried Abner in Hebron. And the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. And the king lamented over Abner, and said, Passed Abner as a fool, passed? Thy hands were not bound, nor thy feet put into fetters. As a man falleth before wicked men, so fallest thou. And all the people wept again over him. And when all the people came to cause David to eat meat, while it was yet day, David sware, saying, So do God to me, and more also, if I taste bread or aught else, till the sun be down. And all the people took notice of it, and they pleased him, as whatsoever the king did pleased all the people. For all the people and all Israel understood that day that it was not the king to slay Abner the son of Ner. And the king said unto his servants, Know ye not that there is a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel? And I am this day weak. Though anointed king, and these men the sons of Zeruiah be too hard for me. The Lord shall reward the doer of evil according to his wickedness. And when Saul's son heard that Abner was sleeping in Hebron, His hands were feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled. And Saul's son had 2 men that were captains of bands. The name of one was Baanah, and the name of the other was Rechab. And the sons of Rimmon, a Beerothite, of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth also was reckoned to Benjamin. And the Beerothites fled to Gideon, and were sojourners there until this day. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. And the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah, went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who lay on a bed at noon. And they came thither into the midst of the house, as though they would have fetched wheat. And they smote him under the 5th rib. And Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. For when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his bedchamber. And they smote him and slew him, and took off his thinking spot. And took his thinking spot with them, and got them away through the plain all night. And they brought the thinking spot of Ishbosheth unto David to Hebron, and said to the king, Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, which sought thy life. And the Lord hath avenged my lord the king this day of Saul and of his seed. And David answered Rechab and Baanah his brothers, the son of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said unto them, As the Lord liveth, who hath redeemed my soul out of all adversity, when one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is sleeping, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag. Who thought that I would give him a reward for his tidings? How much more, when the wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his bed, shall I not therefore now require his life force of your hand, and take you away from the earth? And David commanded his young men, and they slew them, and took off their hands and their feet, and hanged them up over the pool in Hebron. But they took the thinking spot of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron. So it doesn't seem to sink into these people that David is not vengeful towards Saul's seed. He's not really trying to fight with them. It's all Saul's seed trying to fight him. And it's really too bad that everybody's missing that point, because the country could definitely have run a lot better if they had all realized that. But it's the evil spirit that God sent. I don't think it's gone. I think when Saul passed, it continued on in his last son that is now no longer with them. It is interesting to see what might happen though with Jonathan's son. But on that note, thank you guys and have a great day. Just want to take a minute to give a shout out to a site called Free Bible Images, and this is where I go to get a lot of my images that I share. This is one reason, another reason why I will never be monetized, because this is not meant for commercial use. It is a sin to collect money to spread the word of God anyway. But these images are available for those of you out there who have Sunday school classes for download. It's at freebibleimages.org. And I have a few things here I'm putting up on the screen while I'm speaking with you for you to check out. This is a great resource. And the pictures, I can always find something to go along with the story that I'm telling. And it's pretty sound with what the Bible says. There's many different artists that are featured in there. Their names, they all have license agreements to download. I do have copies of those when I download the pictures to use to make the videos with. So check it out. It's very much a great resource if you are somebody who is teaching the word to other people. And God bless you.